So we've got a short van today, a little baby, and she's having some problems. She doesn't drive straight. The steering rack is bad. So we've got a new steering rack, inner tie rods and outer tie rods. This steering rack is aftermarket. It is not OEM. However, it's the exact same one that I have on my van. The only problem is the inner tie rods that it comes with fail very quickly. So we've got OEM inner and outer tie rods that we're gonna put on this rack. The first thing we have to do is lift the van up on jack stands, both front tires off. So let's start with that. All right, you can see we've got the van up on jack stands now on the specific for frame supports. So they have to go on the frame rails. Both wheels off, we can disconnect the tie rod ends. All right, so this nut is a 24. We've already loosened that. This is a 24 as well. We cracked this loose. Now we just have to loosen it some more until the head of the nut is up at the top of the threads. Perfect. Just above the top of the nut or the top of the thread. So we can now hammer this down, pop out of the spindle. Perfect. There we go. Take that nut off and the end will drop down. We have to count how many turns it takes to get this off. 14, 15, almost exactly. Tie rod end is now out. We're gonna do it on both sides. So you may be wondering, why would I change my steering rack? Number one, the seals inside can go bad, which can cause major leaks. And when you have leaks, the pressure's not staying where you want it to, and then your steering is gonna be loose, and you're gonna be like this on the highway. So that's not fun. We wanna be safe. This is an example of a major leak on a rack. This is absolutely disgusting. And you can see an active drip right here of fluid. This has been needing to be topped off every 100 miles or so, and you can see everything is just covered. It's been leaking out of this side. This is what it should look like. No leaks, nice and dry. That's no good. All right, so I mentioned that jack stands have to be on these jack supports on the frame because we cannot put them on these plates because both these plates are gonna have to come down. There are 6 bolts on each one, right there. And there's a nut on top of each one. So you're gonna need an open-ended wrench on the top and a socket on the bottom. The bushings inside here may actually drop down, but don't worry, they're held in place by this plate. We just have to remember to put them back in. Now to get these end bolts on the plate, the nut is underneath the control arm. So you'll need to jack up just the control arm as far out as you can to get access to those nuts right in there. These are 18 millimeter. The 4 in the middle are 16. All right, once you get all 6 bolts out, it may be a little stuck. There we go, it comes down. Bushing comes down with it. I'm having a lot of difficulty raising the control arm enough to get this bolt. So luckily, we can still do it only removing one side. So you get to see a workaround today. But if you can get both plates off, that's the easy way. Go ahead and take that second one off. Okay, so the workaround we're doing, since we can't get this plate off, is we're gonna take this inner tie rod off with the rack still in place. You can use either a giant wrench or some channel locks to get this off. Okay, so we are under the van underneath the transmission right now. We used a 24 millimeter to loosen that top fitting. And now we're letting the system drain. This line and that line off. They go to the power steering pump and the cooler. Okay, so at this point you should have a couple things done. You should have both plates off. If you can get both plates off, you need to get at least one off. If you get one off, you have to take the inner tie rod off with some channel locks. Secondly, you should have both of those fittings undone. The top one is a 24 millimeter and the lower one is a 19 millimeter. They are connected to the flexible lines, so you can move them out of the way. Once you got those things done, we're gonna come under the hood and we are going to undo right here. There is a bolt right down there that we are gonna loosen. That one. That's gonna separate this steering shaft, which goes into the firewall to the steering wheel, from the rack down there. Make sure that, one, the steering wheel is straight, and two, that you do not let it spin once it is disconnected. You can see down here, we've got a T50 on that locking screw. We're gonna take it all the way out. I was wrong, it's not a T50. It is indeed a T45, like it says right there. Take that bolt all the way out, and now your steering rack is just being held onto the subframe. There are 4 bolts that we're gonna take loose, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, right up there. Also, a nut on the back of each one, and the upper ones are very hard to get to. You're gonna have to get a hand up here, hold the wrench on the back for both sides. All 4 bolts out and the rack has already dropped itself down. At this point, you're gonna come back up top and you're gonna spray some lubricant on that clamp, because odds are it's gonna be stuck on there. So it's gonna be a battle to break it loose, but once it does, we will be able to drop this rack all the way down and slide it out. That took a long time, but the U-joint from the steering shaft is now off of the rack. The rack is loose. We should be able to go under and pull it out, of course with a little bit of difficulty though. Like I said, if you can only get one side off, you can still get it out. There we go. Whew. Make sure that you compare the old one with the new one side by side. Make sure you count the threads on the inner tie rods. Make sure that they are the same and the same length. Here we've got the old one, clearly, and the new one, nice and shiny. And up here, you'll see 2 fittings, one larger one and one smaller one, which we removed earlier. We'll go into these. So, take off these fittings, put them in here so that our lines can attach. Okay, day 2. Make sure that we remove these inner tie rods off of this aftermarket rack, because these inner tie rods are no good. Since we only have the one plate off, we're only gonna keep one inner tie rod on, so that it's just as easy to take to put in as it was to take this one out. All right, so here's how we got the old rack out, with this arm attached and that one disconnected, one plate dropped. So we've mirrored it over here. The old inner tie rod arms are off the aftermarket rack. We've got the same side on with the boot. And we also have it aligned in the same way that this one was. You can count the rotations of this and you'll watch the rack slide side to side. You can spin this by hand. So we're gonna keep it aligned with how we pulled the other one out, which is right about there. And this piece will go into the clamp of the steering column that slides over these splines here. So we're gonna keep this on for alignment purposes. It's already the same as the other one that came out, and the steering wheel has not rotated at all. Okay, you're in place. Take your bolts. And then we will follow our 3-step tightening sequence. With this bolt up here on the driver's side, the top one, remember that this bracket for the hose goes right there. So get the bolt through this bracket first and then into the rack. All right, now that we've got the rack into the van and the bolts started, we're gonna tighten them down by hand with a 16mm wrench and a 16mm socket. We're gonna torque to spec. It's gonna be 25 Newton meters first on all 4 bolts. Then we're gonna go back, up them all to 45. And then lastly, once they're all to 45, we'll do an additional 90-degree turn on every single one. 25 Newton meters first. 25 Newton meters, you heard the click there. Now that all 4 are to 25 Newton meters, we can up it to 45. To get from 25 to 45. Yep, there we go. 45. There's an ant on me. For this last 90-degree turn, it's gonna be very tight. Likely won't need a wrench on the back anymore. Okay, all good. Before we forget, we are gonna attach our new inner tie rod to here. You can thread it in and then tighten it while this plate is still off down here. You don't want to forget to do that because you will not be able to tighten it once that plate is back on. Then we're gonna come back here under the hood and we're gonna reconnect that linkage to the new shaft, which you can see right down there. Make sure that it is fully on from this angle. It looks like it's on, but if you look down here, you can see a little bit of spline there still. So it's gotta go farther down. So keep pushing, make sure it's all the way seated. We gave it a little bit more tug, and now you can see it is fully seated. We can go ahead and put that locking bolt back in there. Make sure you tighten that locking bolt on the steering column to 24 Newton meters. So we can pull that out and we can attach the power steering lines, which are back here. Remember that before you put the hoses back on, you have to put the fittings back on, and you'll notice that they have this copper washer right there. Don't drop that washer. The system will leak. The bottom one's 19mm, the top one is 22. All right, you can see up here we've got both lines reattached and tightened. They're, I don't have crow's feet, and there's no way you're fitting a torque wrench in here. So just tighten them tight like you would transmission lines on a cooler. That'll be good enough. It's already going to be tricky enough to get a wrench in here to tighten them. My suggestion, do the top one first and then the bottom one. But whatever works for you is what works for you. Bada bing, bada boom. We've got both on. All right, we've had a pretty successful day. Less successful than I wanted it to be. We did have to take the front sway bar off because, oops, I messed up and I put the inner tie rod over the sway bar instead of through it. So we just took the sway bar off. We're gonna get new links for it another time, and worry about getting that back on another day. We are gonna finish this up tomorrow when we've got a fresh mind, because I am quite exhausted. But both spring plates are back on underneath. You can see the one right there. We are on to day 3 of finishing this job. I've only been working a couple hours a day. If you're doing this, you could probably get it done in 1 or 2 days, but I'm taking my time because this is my girlfriend's van and we're not in any rush to go anywhere because we're at a campground down in the parking lot. We're gonna get the tie rod ends on next, and we're gonna remember to count the turns so that we're as close to a line as we can be to before we've removed everything. And then reconnect them to the spindles, torque them down, and then fill the system with fluid. Our new inner tie rod, you can see it is nice and stiff, which is really good. You'll notice that the sway bar is now gone. I removed that. We're gonna put new links on in the future. So 13, 14, 15. Should be good for now to keep it not moved. We're gonna remove this nut on top, inner tie rod, tie rod end, put it up through the spindle there, and get that nut started. Now it's not gonna go anywhere. We've got 15 turns on, and this spindle will be locked in place. We'll tighten that in a minute, but we're gonna do it on the other side first. All right, so since both tie rods are on now, we're gonna tighten down this lock nut. Get that lock nut nice and snug, and then make sure that that tie rod end is straight before we tighten that nut down all the way. 24 millimeter. Now there's a chance when putting this on that it doesn't tighten all the way, which is what's happening right now. That's because of this blue nylon lock on the nut. So we'll have to use a hex head in here to hold the shaft of the tie rod end in place while we rotate just the nut past that nylon lock, and then we can use a socket once it's past that. Hold the shaft while you twist the nut.
Hey, it's simple instructions, people.
Yeah.
He's like, can you hand me the half-inch thing?
Yeah. It's the only thing over there that is half an inch.
Yeah, you know what? Half-inch is big. So.
Half an inch is actually huge.
Yeah, I saw something huge and I just grabbed it.
Quite frankly, I have never tightened these to 130 Newton meters, and where I am in California, I do not have access to a torque wrench that goes that high right now, which, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should, but I did not bring it with me. I put it in storage when I came out here. So, we're gonna tighten them the old-fashioned way, the way I've tightened tie rods on every other van I've worked on, to tight. Tie rod ends are on, attached to the spindle, inners are on. Before we put the tires and everything on, we're gonna crawl underneath and just double check that everything we did the last couple days all looks good. All right, so we've got both wheels back on now, but the van is still off the ground. May not look like it, but it just is. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to open the power steering reservoir here. And we are going to add fluid into here, and with the engine off, rotate the wheel manually all the way from side to side, and making sure that this reservoir does not get below the minimum line while doing so. All right, so for power steering, you can use the same fluid that you use for your transmission. The max line is on the cap, the dipstick is on the cap. So every once in a while, once you add a little bit more, put the cap back in and see where the fluid is at before adding more. There's a minimum and a maximum for at 20 degrees Celsius, and a minimum and maximum for at 80 degrees Celsius. Now, do a double check. Yep, so we'll add a tad bit more just for now. It is cold, so I'm measuring at the 20 degrees Celsius line. Great, we are at the max line now. We're gonna head into the vehicle and manually turn the steering wheel from all the way to the right to all the way to the left. And we're gonna come back and check here how much it's dropped down and add the necessary fluid back to get it back up to maximum. Fluid level is right there, the max. It's hard to see. All right, the van is back on around 2 feet now. We're gonna move it, get in alignment, and check for leaks. Other than that, it's a job well done. Make sure you stay tuned for the next video because my van needs a new air conditioner system. We already got it. So next video will be how to diagnose an AC system problem and repair and replace the entire thing. Wahoo! Subscribe for more Sprinter repair videos. Let's go for a drive. Peace! But if I could do it, you can too. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. You can do it if you love it enough.
I love you. I know you are in terrible condition, but I promise to treat you so good. You're gonna be beautiful.